Hello, everyone. Glad to have you. Um, Again, my name is AJ Austin. I'm a school social worker with the Duval County Public School System. I'm getting a little feedback, so it's kind of weird. But I also have my wonderful coworker, Miss Priscilla Allen, here as well.
Hi, everyone. I'll just take a moment to introduce myself. My name is Priscilla Allen, and I'm also with Duval County Public Schools. Mr. Austin and I work in the Attendant Services Department, and I'm currently serving as a truancy officer. And it's nice to make everyone's acquaintance.
Thank you so much. So we'll go ahead and get started. So right now, I'm going to go ahead and share my PowerPoint. All right. So basically, we're going to discuss, attendance, what attendance is, what chronic absenteeism is, and the significance of school attendance. But so this is going to be interactive, real informal. So if you have any questions as it relates to what attendance looks like, please don't hesitate to inquire at any time. You can stop me at any time. So how do you feel about your child's attendance? Would you say that you are very happy with your students' attendance? You feel okay, or are you completely, utterly disappointed?
I know my student is getting on the computer, but
Okay,
apparently the school is saying that he's having some truancy.
gotcha.
So since this is his first year, we're trying to get a grip on like how many hours he's supposed to be on the computer and stuff like that.
Okay, all right. That's really like a component of attendance as it relates to chronic absenteeism. Yeah, you definitely want to reach out to admin through DVIA and pinpoint, what's going on with that. But this might also be of benefit to you. I don't know if you access his portal. You can check the absences, and you can actually go back to well, here it actually tells in detail um, how to check or how to identify whether or not he's being absent. It can get very detailed through his focus portal. Um, whether it's on a weekly basis, whether the absences are excused or unexcused, and that sort of thing. So this is definitely a resource. Checking the focus portal and identifying the days absent. And again, you can actually go back to um, the inception of his school tenure when he started school. You can actually go back and see how many days, if he was ever in a brick and mortar, how many days he was in school versus him being virtually, what that looked like. So it's a very helpful tool if you go through the focus portal in his profile, and you can actually identify the excused, unexcused, tardies, or whatever the case may be. All right. So this is just basic research in regards to um, the benefits of school attendance. Um, Students who attend school often have better outcomes in multiple areas of their adult life, including post-secondary education, lifetime earnings, and employment, as well as civic engagement. So school attendance is more than just academic. It has more than just academic or educational benefits. Of course, we want our students to advance academically, but again, as it indicates, there's civil engagement or social and also emotional components. And so school is a microcosm of society, so it teaches us how to adhere to the norms and the culture of American society.
We do have a question in the chat. It
Okay.
says, is there a way to upload doctor's excuses?
Yes, there is a way to upload doctor's excuses. What I will say is each school, if you contact your school counselor, they uh they can tell you how to upload that information. And the good thing about uploading that documentation is that you can actually see the note that you put in there. So if you reach out to your school counselor, they'll be able to take you step by step as it relates to how to actually upload that information into the focus portal. And again, once you upload it, it's always there for everyone to see. It's documented, so that's a good way of actually ensuring that it's there. All right. So a question to my guests here: if you have difficulties getting your student or your child to school, what are those difficulties? What are some of the difficulties that we as parents, we as guardians run into as it relates to getting our children to school? Illnesses is absolutely, that's probably our number one barrier as it relates to regular school attendance. Students being ill, especially chronic illnesses. Are there any other barriers that can prevent our students from having positive attendance patterns?
I would say sometimes the students aren't really that motivated, but
You
they
know
still
what?
got to go to school.
So I will say since COVID, I guess students have become very comfortable being home. And myself and Miss Allen, we run into it all the time where students they'll say, well, you know what? I just don't want to go. I just don't want to go to school. I don't like school anymore. So a big part of it is um, not being, you know, uh, not having to go to school rather because of the pandemic. So as parents, we are our child's first, and we should be the child's best teacher. So it's really incumbent upon us to instill in our children to uh, go to school on a regular basis. When I was growing up, there's two places I always went. One was church, and one was school. And so um, it should be a non-negotiable as it relates to our students being in school because it's so much more than just academics. So great answer. So the other aspect of this, so that's what it is that we see sometimes, illness. So other issues that parents run into or that we see, Miss Allen and myself, homelessness, families that are in transition, not having adequate or stable housing, transportation issues are there. So we often run into populations that are in marginalized positions. They live in areas where it's difficult for them to have viable jobs. And because they can't get viable jobs, it impacts their ability to acquire finances to get reliable transportation. So there's so much that goes into um, allowing your child to receive a regular education. And I think that we have to empathize uh, with families that may be immersed in chronic poverty and understand that there are extenuating circumstances that often bring them to a position of not allowing their child to be in school on a regular basis. Some of the most common responses from students, and this is what we kind of talked about before. Absences don't matter in elementary school. Absences only matter if they're consecutive. So some people believe that, oh, it's just elementary school, it doesn't matter. My child is just in kindergarten, it doesn't matter. The days are, I have one day here this month and then another day here and that. So it doesn't matter because the absences are, they're scattered. Um, so those can be further from the truth. Those are just myths. Okay. Every absence matter because whether it's an excused absence or an unexcused, your child is missing valuable instruction. This is another big one. So a lot of what we see, a lot of what I see is it's a mindset, and it's a transgenerational mindset. If you see here where it has an aversion, it says my mom didn't like school either. That's a big one. So we as parents, we have to be encouragers. We have to be motivators, motivate our students to attend school. So if your child hears you saying something negative about school, they're going to adopt that same mindset. So it can be a transgenerational mindset that your student adopts if they're saying that I don't want to go to school, mama didn't like school, they say DCPS school system is garbage. They listen to all of that. So we have to make sure we say encouraging things, that we speak well of school, that education is important. So it can oftentimes chronic absenteeism is built on a mindset of some erroneous mindset that school is not important. Another issue is that I'm always in trouble. Oftentimes, when a student is in the school, they can get, unfortunately, if they present as behavior problems, teachers do talk, and they become stigmatized as troublemakers. And so, again, it's incumbent upon us as parents to try to instill good behaviors in our students, so we can try to not get this label. And it's, we as humans, that's a part of what we do. We stigmatize, unfortunately, and label. um, we can't control what teachers do, unfortunately, but as parents, we can try to, again, instill in our children to behave and do the right thing when they're in the classroom. So again, chronic absenteeism is missing 10% of the school year. So we're in school 180 days, so that's 18 days out of a school year. Um, so again, a myth is I can miss 2 days this month, a day next month, or 3 days the next couple of months, and it's okay because they're not consecutive. Again, any day that you're absent or a day that a student is absent, they're missing valuable instruction. Not only are they missing valuable instruction, But again, school is a place where they can become acclimated to interacting, um, the social and emotional. They learn coping skills naturally to overcome problems just by being immersed in the school setting. So, research shows that chronic absenteeism as early as kindergarten and first grade can affect reading proficiency in third grade, and we can see the this wide gap here, where it has no attendance versus high attendance, um, and so the percentage of students scoring proficient or advanced in third grade English and arts. So, the student scores much higher if they're exposed to early reading, not just uh, in school, but also at home. So if we expose our students at an early age to reading, learning language, phrases, words at an early age, they'll be better prepared and more reading proficient by the time by the time they reach the third grade. Thank you. Um, how can you help your child overcome aversions to school? So aversions are basically excuses, not wanting to go to school, or aversions. So we have to encourage our child to make a connection with a trusted adult at school, whether virtual or in person. So again, having that protective factor. Who can my child reach out to? Who is that person at the school that my student can go to um, when they're having a difficult time? Use positive language when discussing school. Create expectations that school is not an option. Again, school should be mandatory. Then we set small goals and use praise and preferred activities as rewards for achieving them. So everyone should feel good about school. You know, our children should be praised. They may not always uh, score the highest grades, but the fact that they try, they should be venerated and praised for doing the right thing and going to school. So if you need help, we are here. Our district has resources that may be able to assist your student to overcome any type of or most, I don't say any type. We try to attempt to overcome barriers to education. You can contact your child's school counselor, their school social worker if you need help locating resources. So it's important that we reach out to our school counselor, utilize our resources within the schools because they can really help mitigate some of the barriers that we may run into or that your child may be having in school. Let me ask you all this, but are there any other barriers beyond school attendance that that you all are facing?
Lateness, tardy.
Okay. All righty. So what does a solution look like for your student? Let's say the answer to this problem lies at the top of a mountain. To get to it, there are many steps along the way. Try to identify your goal for your child and steps your child and or family will need to take to get there. The key phraseology in this term is for your child and or family. A lot of people say, "Oh, I want to help this student," but the student will only go as far as that family will encourage or support the child. So every child needs a support system, protective factors. So I'm glad to hear that we have grandparents, we have parents here that are there to support our students. So what does it look like in regards to getting our children to school every day? Making sure they wake up early. Again, I have come across so many, and I'm not judging them because their lived reality is what it is. But I run across a lot of families, a lot of parents say, "Well, I just can't wake up. I work two and three jobs. It's hard for me to wake up and get my child either get them to school or get them to school on time." And that's tough. And I'm not judging them. But what I will say is that we have to make school a priority. You know, there have been people before us who have had to do more difficult things, yet and still they got their children to school. It's about priorities. School has to be priority. It has to be number one. It has to be first and foremost. Not only that, if there are any problems that your child is running into, removing those barriers so they can have a seamless education to get what they need to be promoted and to advance academically is also important. So, what might happen if a student misses too much school? Um, of course, failing grades, repeating classes or entire grades. So for the older students, particularly our high schoolers, this is actually in the federal Department of Education. It's in legislation, if I'm not mistaken, a part of state legislation that their driver's license may be suspended or revoked. Referrals to the district hearing office with community and state agencies that can lead to state attorney's prosecution of the case. That's also a part of state legislation. So these are all things that can happen if students are chronically absent, or if they're chronically absent or miss 10% or more of the school year. So what is regular attendance? Regular attendance is half of what chronic absenteeism would look like. So if you're chronically absent, or chronic absenteeism is 18 days, being in school or missing half those days is considered a positive attendance pattern. Okay, so anything 9 days or fewer is considered a positive absence attendance pattern. Now this says that this includes excused and unexcused absences. So again, if your child has 18 excused or unexcused absences, whether it's excused or unexcused, again, they're missing regular instruction. So we want to try to have them in school as much as possible. Now, I understand that things happen, illnesses, um, and if there's a chronic illness that we need to address, there needs to be additional resources, hospital homebound, or some other type of resource that we can try to, connect the family with. So it's key. Communication is key. Students returning from an absence, it's required that they present a written note from their parents, and it has to be from their parents. The following causes are acceptable excuses for being absent: illness, as we indicated, serious illness or death in the student's family. In that case, we often will have an obituary. Inclement weather, of course, that we have our weather that can prohibit school attendance. Um, and I'm not just talking about, it's drizzling outside, but if there's actually weather that prohibits, that will shut the school system down, there is no school. That's going to cause us nobody to be in school. Official religious holidays of a religious sect for religious instruction. So again, we have to respect people's cultures, religions. We come across families that travel um, out of the country to go to different countries based on their religious beliefs. So we can't; those will be excused. And again, there's insurmountable conditions as determined by the school principal or other designated district or school personnel. A bus failure, which is quite often now, or irregular schedule, which causes the absence or tardiness of a student who is eligible and regularly transported by the district. So we have a teacher shortage in the district. We have a bus driver shortage. So right now it's tough. We often have buses that aren't picking students up because we don't have bus drivers. So that's a real thing. All right, so these are 6 tips for parents and students. We want to have our students in attendance so they can do well, not just for today, but for tomorrow. So what does good attendance mean? It means that they can build skills and develop good habits. Again, school is a microcosm of the greater society. We have to not only get to school, but we have to get to school on time. So we're setting them, we want them to get acclimated to being responsible. Um, that starts in preschool, and it then goes to elementary, middle, and high schoolers. And if they're college bound, if they're college ready, if that's something they want to do, they can go off and go to college. If not, they can get a trade or get a skill, and then we can go off and they can be a productive citizen in society. That's our ultimate goal. That's why we have students in school. There is no benefit of not having your child in school. There is no benefit of not having your child in school. And when I say in school, they can do virtual, they can do private, they can do charter, they can do public, but not having them receive sound academic instruction is not beneficial. If you have any questions about attendance, we have some key sources that we can go to. I would say one of our biggest sources would be the U.S. Department of Education, the Florida Department of Education, because key legislation as it relates to um, how we uphold our attendance policies, it comes from FDOE legislation. A part of FDOE legislation is rooted in the Every Student Succeed Act, which used to be No Child Left Behind, um, but now it's the Every Student Succeeds Act. So if you're really concerned or really want to know more about not just attendance, but uh, the legislation that supports education and academic advancement of students, You can check out the U.S. Department of Education. Um, the DCPS attendance policy is also good. And then just for general information about attendance, you can go to works. But again, if you want specifics about legislation and policy, you can go to U.S. Department of Education, and then of course our DCPS attendance policy, which is on the website. Are there any questions or concerns that any of our guests have? Everybody in here can jot my email address down, and if you have any questions or concerns beyond what I'm able to provide, I really want you to email me so I can try to find answers for you. My email address is Austin, AUSTIN, A 5 at duvalschools.org. If there's nothing else, I really appreciate everybody's time. If nobody has any other questions, again, you can always reach out to me via email if you have any other questions. But it was a pleasure having you today during this presentation, and I wish all of you the best in the future as well as your students.